I thought I pressed all the right buttons, but obviously not. Still can't. Oh, that's it. Sorry about the tech problems. It's me probably not pressing the right button. Feels very odd to stand up here and not be amongst you, but I'm sure you'll understand. Normally I'd wander around, but they've kept me stuck to the right place now, but not in the pulpit, you'll notice. I want you to think about this. When do you say thank you? When would you say thank you? When you receive something. George? It's good manners to say thank you sometimes. Yeah? When you're being polite, you say thank you. Daniel? When you take something from somebody, or maybe when someone gives you something, you might say thank you. There's lots of times when we say thank you. It might be that someone holds the door open for us and we go in and we all say thank you. Or maybe when your parents or your carers give you your meal at night, you might think, oh, thank you. Or you might eat it and say, thank you, that was really nice. I know when Les cooks me my dinner, I often, at the end of my meal, always look around and say to him, thank you, because he's made the effort to cook it, and I've had the opportunity to eat it. And often we think of thank you when someone gives us a gift, like a birthday present, or a gift at Christmas. I'm looking at someone because it's their birthday. So we might say thank you after we've received the gift. So thank you is really important because it shows our appreciation. It's not just good manners, but it's about showing our appreciation when someone's actually given us something. It makes us feel better inside. It's an action, really. It's a receiving of action. So why are we giving thanks to harvest, do you think? Has anyone got any ideas why we're giving thanks for harvest today? Harvest. Anybody? They've all gotten quiet. I don't remember these quiet children from before. All gone shy on me. Any of the adults then? Why are we giving thanks at harvest? There we go. I've got an answer. I just can't translate it. Anybody? Why are we giving thanks at harvest? All right, John.
Give thanks for the seasons. Give thanks to God for producing crops.
Yes. Do you remember at the beginning of lockdown, one of the things that people said to me at the beginning of lockdown was that they noticed that the birds were singing. Does this ring any bells with you? They actually noticed the birds singing for the first time. People who hadn't were normally rushing out to work or rushing to do things during the day suddenly stood still for a little while. We had lovely weather, that helped. And I can remember sitting in my garden and thinking, don't the birds sound loud? It's because I couldn't hear any traffic. And it made me stop and appreciate something that I kept missing. I've been so busy, I get so busy that I take the world around me for granted. I stopped remembering that birds do sing every morning as soon as the sun, in fact, before the sun comes up, if you don't sleep well, you'll know that, the birds are singing, or if you've got young children who get you up, the birds are singing before the sun even gets up. They sing every morning. It's a chorus of singing. And it made me realise that we don't give thanks enough for the world around us. We take it for granted all the time. I grew up in the East End of London in a flat on the 3rd floor. We didn't even have a flower box on the windowsill. And in the centre of London, if you wanted a green space, you'd have to go to a park. And I can't really remember any birds either. So it was amazing to be able to come to a parish where I was able to go out and see the harvest being taken in, to watch the farmers growing our food, tending the cattle. It was a real eye-opener and a reminder to me of where our food comes from and the blessing that God gives us. So harvest is about giving thanks. It's about giving thanks for the food that's produced on our behalf, not just in this country, but across the world. It's about giving thanks for those who produce the food, who supply the food, who deliver it in lorries, for those who stack it on the shelves in our supermarkets, for the person on the till. It's about giving thanks for the person in our family who produces the meals that we eat. It's about remembering to give thanks. But most of all, harvest is about giving thanks to God. God gives us this amazing, amazing world to live in. And sometimes we take it for granted. And a lot of times we don't look after it. Taking for it granted and not looking after it go hand in hand often. We forget what we've got. If you remember the text today, you remember a man who builds up his wealth without any appreciation or any thought of anyone else. He thinks the more he has, the happier he will be. But actually, he has judged it wrong because he won't live very long and he's missed the opportunity to enjoy life because he's put all his energy into storing up wealth. In other texts in the Bible, if you remember your Ruth and Naomi's text, you remember when she and Naomi leave their hometown and they go to another place as strangers to visit, even though they're related distantly to people there. They're very poor. And God gives a directive to the farmers that when they harvest their produce, they have to leave the edges of the field unharvested so that the poor and the widows could come and harvest the edges of the field. So they share in the abundance of what they've got. And it's their way of giving thanks to God as well. God, you have provided me with this harvest, and therefore in response to that, in joy of that, we share that with others. So harvest is about giving thanks to God for the wonderful creation that we have, but it's also about thinking about others, those who produce our food, provide our food, share our food, and to think about those who are struggling. Traditionally, we bring things to harvest. It's not been possible this time, but normally we would bring produce, and more over the years we bring produce that can be given to food bank at this church. And this is important, that we remember not just at harvest, but all year round to share what we have with others. Now, you may do this through charitable giving, or you may give it through food bank. But the important thing is when you're giving thanks, and do give thanks every day because it lifts your spirits. It always lifts my spirits to give thanks, to think about others. And give thanks. If I was to ask you to list all the things that are not going right at the moment, I suspect we'll need a couple of days. If I was to ask you all the things that make you joyful, it may take you a while to think about it. Not because they don't happen, but because we take them for granted. So I would encourage you at the end of each day to think about the blessings you've received that day and to give thanks. And I can guarantee it will lift your spirits because you begin to see and you begin to feel great wonder that God is at work in your life. And it's worth giving thanks for. Amen. I'm assuming the raspberries mean that she enjoyed the sermon.